I think this should help people make it out a little bit more.
Yeah, so if you're confused when you're watching the game TV, we'll give you a reminder of what exact station you listen to. Again, I was out yesterday. I know you guys did a great job with early signing day, and Beamer and company bringing in another good class. Of course, also plenty of discussion about what happened on Tuesday night with the college football playoff rankings, which I'll share my thoughts on here in just a second. But it is 9 a.m. That means it's time for our Sandstorm Pick Me Up.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick Me Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. On Tuesday morning, we sat here and we kind of tried to theorize what we thought the committee was going to do. And I thought they were going to leave South Carolina out. Now, what they ended up doing was not what I expected. I thought Miami was still going to be in, and Alabama, Ole Miss, and Carolina were going to be out, because I was like, well, how do you split hairs between those three teams? Yes, Alabama and Ole Miss obviously have the head-to-head against Carolina, but Alabama and Ole Miss have not played each other. And it made the most sense to me if they were going to be consistent from the week before, where Clemson at 12 at 2 losses and not much of a resume was seen as better than all three of those SEC teams. Why wouldn't that change this week? And it clearly did.
There's no consistency. There's zero consistency. And I'm totally with you on that. I just thought it was kind of ridiculous how you could put a 9-3 Alabama team over Miami. Oh, look, actually, I take that back. If you're, like you said, if you're going to put one in front of the other, you may as well do all three. Like, and look, I hear the argument that it would be hard to drop Miami from 6 to.
Why? Why is it hard? That is such a.
I know.
Let's go back. Georgia was number 2 when they lost to Ole Miss on the road, and they dropped 9 spots. This theory of you can't drop them X amount of spots. Why not? Why can't you do that? Why is there this imaginary line in the sand of, well, you can only go this far down? Yeah. Why is that a thing?
Some folks can't handle it. It's
because we have been so preconditioned to the AP poll era, the BCS era, where things could only move a certain amount of places because that's how it had always been. This is different. Yeah. If you are the number 10 team in the first playoff poll, right? You insert whoever here, and you go get blown out by 70 points the next weekend against an inferior opponent, they should drop you out of the top 25. Yeah. You don't deserve to stay in the top 25 just because you were in it the week before.
I think the only justification would be that Syracuse is a ranked team now, so maybe the loss doesn't look as bad. They lost by 4. But then again, they dropped Ohio State after that Michigan loss, and I was very displeased with that. I don't even care about Ohio State, but I just think it's ridiculous that you can go lose as a 20.5-point favorite by a field goal, and you only drop 4 spots. You get to host a home playoff game. What are we talking about? There's so many problems. But getting back to the South Carolina discussion, I thought it was crazy that they only jumped up 1 spot after beating a top 12 team. Yes, I am fully aware that it is tougher to move up in the rankings the higher you go. Yep. Because if other teams aren't losing, it makes sense. However, this whole notion that we're now just accepting head-to-head, no problem, when this is the same committee that a few weeks ago literally put Alabama over Tennessee after Tennessee had just lost. And Ward Manuel literally had just said a few weeks ago, when South Carolina jumped LSU, these teams were trending in different directions. How is Alabama losing to Oklahoma not trending in a different direction?
I just want consistency. I get it. There's a lot.
Transparency.
And transparency, too. There's a lot of factors that go into making these decisions, right? And strength of schedule, strength of record, head-to-head, point differential, all these kind of things.
Wait, do we even know that?
I'm assuming.
That's the problem.
And that is the problem, because we get this ranking show on Tuesday nights. They put out the rankings, then Ward Manuel, whoever the committee chair is, gets on there and gets asked about 3 questions by Reese Davis. Doesn't really tell us anything except for one thing, which I will get to here in just a moment. And then we're just kind of left in the dark. With how important this is, why is this not broadcast? ESPN loves to broadcast everything. Think about when we go to the national championship, there's going to be 12 different alternate broadcasts. You've got you've got the SEC broadcast, the ACC broadcast, the Big 12 broadcast, hometown radio, the other team's radio, the analytical broadcast, Pat McAfee's broadcast. Like, we do all these things with different broadcast types. We have the Manning cast. We have the Simpsons version of Monday Night Football. Why is there not a camera in the committee room or a show about the process of them deciding each and every week? Because guess what? We don't watch it because we just want to know what's being said. These are supposed to be the higher minds of football that know better than all of us because they get tasked with determining who the 12 teams to play for the national championship are. I just want to know what they're talking about.
Me too. And even honestly, like, worst case, I would say just give us some transparency at the worst. If you're not going to do something live, TV show, whatever, Netflix, then just give us the criteria. I think that would help a lot of people. Like, I mean, yeah, they have an FAQ site, but like, honestly, if you just give the people, the information that, like, hey, this is what we use to pick the 12 best teams. It's strength of schedule, even though, let's be real, that's not legit. Head to head, all this sort of metrics and stuff, that would clear up a lot of confusion for people. It would also be nice if they, like you said, Ward Manuel just straight up answered the question of, like, why is Alabama ahead? And it's, I guess because they have a good record against top 25 teams and stuff.
And that's what brings me to what surprised me the most from Tuesday night is that Ward Manuel, when he said the thing about, well, nothing can change for these teams that aren't playing this weekend, that is the most honest a committee chair has been in the over 10 years that we've been doing this now, which, point for honesty, I respect that for not stringing this along for a couple of days, but it also doesn't make any sense because, and this is what Beamer brought up yesterday, when talking to you guys in his press conference, that, well, if Clemson wins the ACC, that changes South Carolina's resume because now you have a win on the road against a conference champion. That, to me, makes your argument a little bit stronger, but to just say 5 days out from the final, which he says they evaluate everything through the conference championship games, which they should. Well, nothing's going to change for Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina. No matter what happens this weekend, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, and it's the same thing for Bama and Ole Miss because keep in mind they have a big win over Georgia on their resume, and Georgia's not going to fall out of the rankings or anything with a loss in the SEC title game. But imagine Texas wins that game, and it's like, what happens to Georgia? How far do they fall if they maybe get blown out or something, So, and it's the same thing. Like, imagine if, hypothetically speaking, Texas A&M made the SEC title game. South Carolina gets left out like they did, and then Ward comes out and says the same exact thing. Yeah. It won't matter. Man, South Carolina could have two potential.
Exactly.
That's the craziest part. No more data points. That is a data point right there that Clemson winning the ACC would help South Carolina's strength of schedule. Might not help them get to the playoff, but it should at least make a conversation.
Yeah, you would think. And again, for the 10 years we've been doing this, they've never given us anything close to an honest answer until right then. And again, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate not being strung along for a couple more days, but it still doesn't mean that what they're saying is right.
No, it just feels like he said that way too quick in the moment. Like he said it before thinking. And Reese Davis gave him an opportunity to kind of correct himself when he heard. Like, I think everyone was kind of like, "What are you talking about, dude?"
Yeah.
It was just
because initially it seemed he seemed like he was only talking about the teams playing this weekend.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we're going to evaluate the games. No, what happens for these teams on the bubble that don't play this weekend? And again, he ends up saying, well, it doesn't matter because they're not playing. And now, that being said, you could still run into a situation where SMU loses by a lot, and then we are having the day. And by the way, I'm a firm believer you should not be penalized for playing a 13th game.
Yeah.
I think if you're already in and you play a conference championship game, you should still be in. That being said, the committee may not go that way. We'll have to see. If you get into a debate where SMU gets beat by 40 points by Clemson, okay, now it's SMU and Alabama debating on who gets in. Then you're still having to reevaluate Alabama, even though they're not playing this weekend.
They've already done this twice before, leaving out a conference champion in favor of Alabama. 2017, they leave out Ohio State, and granted they had 2 losses, but they won the Big Ten. And then you also have, last year with FSU being left out. So the precedent has already been set that they don't care about conference championships and stuff. However, if you lose the conference title game, I think it's crazy that Ward essentially said that they'll only look at the data points from the conference title games and stuff, which is fair. Like if SMU gets blown out by 40, okay, maybe we could have a discussion. But I don't know, just to say that you can't have data points and look at the guys and the other teams on the outside, but only the ones on the inside, that's just ridiculous to me.
I saw this sentiment on Tuesday night. Again, I wasn't here yesterday. I've seen a lot of Carolina fans saying they're cheering for Clemson this weekend.
What? Hold up. Wait, hold on. What?
And it's out of spite to try and knock Alabama out. Because if Clemson wins, and again, assuming SMU doesn't drop out, then Clemson would end up taking that last spot and bumping Alabama. That just echoes, and this isn't everybody. Again, it's only a handful of people, but I've seen people out there saying, I'm rooting for Clemson because I don't want Alabama to be in. To cheer for your most hated rival, who you just beat this past weekend to get in, shows you how frustrated people are by this, and I'd say rightfully so.
Yeah, no, you definitely have the right to be frustrated. And look, you can root for whoever you want. Like, that's fine. Like, if you want to root for Clemson this weekend, by all means, go for it. That is... I mean, look, that's next level right there, and it's not going to change anything though. Like again, Alabama just gets this special treatment compared to everyone else,
and that's what makes it so infuriating. If this was, let's say, Ole Miss,
any other
team, you'd be upset. But the fact that it's Alabama, and it's like, well, of course they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. That's what drives people the most crazy, because this is the worst Alabama team we have seen since Nick Saban's first year back in 2007. Still a good team, but the worst of the past 15 years nonetheless. And still, despite getting dominated by Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, they still find a way to weasel their way in.
I don't even think people would have an issue if Alabama had just lost the games that maybe South Carolina did. But they lost to bad teams, and they're getting rewarded for it. It's just crazy to me, and it is what it is. There's so much wrong with the playoff format and the selection process right now that nothing's going to be fixable right away in the moment.
If you were thinking you might be nervous when you woke up on Sunday waiting for the 12 o'clock selection show, they went ahead and took care of that for you. You're not going to have to sweat anything because you're out. There's no changing that.
Yep. Thank goodness, I guess. So
coming away from this, and again, Beamer talked a lot about this in a lot of different ways yesterday with his presser. I want to get into what he talked about scheduling, though. I don't remember if you're the one that asked the question or somebody else, but he gave a really good answer that I think needs to be discussed. We'll hit that coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central along with you on your Thursday here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Looking for that extra special and personal gift this holiday season? Give a Skylight frame. Skylight is a touchscreen digital picture frame that friends and family can easily send photos to, straight from your phone, and they'll pop up in seconds.
Our family loves their Skylight frames. There's something magical about seeing our most treasured memories in our home each day. It was the perfect gift for my parents after our son was born.
Surprise your loved ones this year with a beautiful Skylight frame. It's the perfect gift for new families, parents and grandparents, or anyone who has all their photos stuck on their phone. You can easily preload photos before you give it as a gift without even opening the box. For a limited time, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/share. That's right. To get $20 off your Skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com/share. That's skylightframe.com/share.
I'm here with the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder of First Palmetto Bank. Jacob, tell me more about this 4.99% 30-year fixed product you are offering in Richland County.
We have a community reinvestment product in the areas of Richland County. Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor are areas that we're offering the 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. We are underserving these areas, so the bank is offering 100% purchase loans at 4.99% on a 30-year fixed. No points, no mortgage insurance, no gimmicks, just lower payments.
4.99% is awesome. What's a payment look like?
Yes, Bill. A payment on $200,000 at that APR is $1,072 a month for 360 months. A payment on $300,000 is $1,608. These estimates do not include taxes and insurance. These loans are only for primary residences, and the loan amounts are capped at $300,000. Call me today. My number is 803-719-1005, or you can email me at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com. All loans are subject to credit approval and property appraisal. First Palmetto Bank is a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. My NMLS number is 198432.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Calling all business owners and property managers. Is it finally time to get that parking lot or driveway repaved? Call Black Seal today. Black Seal is a locally owned commercial asphalt construction and maintenance company, servicing local churches, schools, shopping centers, warehouses, restaurants, you name it. If it needs asphalt paving or asphalt repair, Black Seal has you covered. If you're looking to pave your parking lot or driveway, Black Seal paves the way. Black Seal also provides maintenance options to maintain your asphalt and improve your curb appeal. Get your free estimate and visit blacksealsc.com to learn more.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina. Come home for the holidays. Not enough room at home for those extra guests and their pets? The Home to Suites by Hilton Columbia downtown has you covered. Guests will enjoy complimentary home to breakfast and Wi-Fi too. Receive a 12% discount on a studio suite in November and December. Mention promo code HOM when you call 803-227-3410. That's 803-227-3410. Check the hotel website for pet fee and size limits.
Got something to say?
Ring us up on the Love Chevy phone line
at 803-404-6100. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
The Extra Point with your hosts, Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central.
Sponsored by Pete Ale Wine, Pool and Spa.
On the Game Network. And don't forget to download the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. It is The Extra Point. Tyler and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Thursday on the Game. Reminder tonight, women's basketball in action over at CLA, taking on a top 10 Duke team. Tip off at 9 o'clock. It's gonna be a late one.
We get one of those probably a year with men's basketball too. Yeah. So it's typically again, TV times.
You play like an Arkansas or an LSU, one of those teams in the Central Time Zone. Drives me nuts. I hate it. Yeah. Please tip off at 7 like a normal game should. Yeah. But we'll have pregame coverage for you starting at 8:30 for that 9 o'clock tip. All right here on the Game as Dawn's crew looks to put another win together. Hopefully as dominant as the one against Iowa State was last week down there in Fort Myers.
Two dominant wins against Iowa State and Purdue. And by the way,
that's right, the Purdue game as well.
Yeah. Did you see the SEC went 14-2 in the men's basketball challenge?
Smacking them around, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah, it's been an interesting basketball season so far. Again, that game coming up tonight, men's team in action once again coming up on Saturday, taking on East Carolina. Quickly, Taylor hit me on Twitter, says rooting for Clemson so Miami gets bumped and we get matched up with Miami in the Orange Bowl or Gator Bowl, excuse me. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Depending on how many guys opt out, I guess.
So,
because I imagine Cam Ward wouldn't want to play in that game.
Probably not. But for South Carolina, I mean, Shane talked about it yesterday. He doesn't want to see guys opt out and stuff. I mean, they'll have those conversations, but no one's come up to him yet about it. So that's a positive sign, I guess. But we'll see.
And Ian, we'll find out their bowl destination coming up on Sunday, and then can really dive into who's going to play, who's not, and those kind of things. Which again, I think if you've earned the right to opt out and, looking ahead to the next level, that's perfectly fine with me. But discussion to be had once we find out exactly where they are going to go. I do want to get into something he did talk about yesterday, and I can't remember if you're the one that asked the question or not. You asked a similar question, I think. Cut number 4 here, Dave. Beamer talking about if there's any benefit to scheduling hard now based on the precedent the committee has set.
Changes. If you're asking, is there anything to gain by playing in some of these games that you play out of conference? I think it's something that not just us, but every team needs to look at, because clearly you can go through an entire season, not beat a ranked team, and be in the playoff if you just win. So I think it's something. I'm a competitor. I love playing in those games. I'm looking forward to playing Virginia Tech and Atlanta next season, but the committee made it very clear that they really don't give a hoot who you beat. Just, don't lose 3 times and you're in, even if it means you never beat a ranked opponent. Not one. Don't beat a ranked opponent, but just win the games on your schedule.
Extra wins. Because, and look, the SEC has the rule where you got to play one out-of-conference Power 4 team. That's covered. You play Clemson every single year.
Yep.
And the reason why he gave that answer, on Saturday, Carolina at 15 played a Clemson team 3 spots better than them that was deemed to be better than Alabama and Ole Miss, and beat them and moved up 1 spot. And Clemson dropped 6?
5.
5, excuse me. So the math isn't math in here. You know what I mean? So, again, based on that precedent, if I'm Coach Beamer, I got to play my SEC schedule. I got 8 games that are always going to be tough, but everything else, cupcakes. I'm not, because it seems like the reward of beating one of those teams, I don't know how good Virginia Tech's going to be. They're having a kind of a rough season. They could load up in the portal next year. They could be a great team. I don't know. But the reward of beating one of those teams, it seems like, based on the precedent, is not nearly worth the risk of losing to them, in my opinion.
Definitely not. What happened to the precedent that I thought had been set that teams need to schedule harder, and you have all these great out-of-conference games? Like, what happened to that precedent of less cupcakes, more action?
I don't remember what committee that was. It changes every single year. People come out.
Does, but
one of those years, and that was kind of the argument with the 12-team playoff is, hey, it's going to force you to schedule better out of conference because those data points, and again, we've heard data points 10,000 times in the past week, and Shane wants to throw up if I say it again. That's what they said they wanted. But now, based on the precedent this committee has set, that doesn't matter. Because, again, if you can't move up more than 1 spot, beating a top 12 team in their venue, then what's the benefit?
There is none, I guess. I mean, it's ridiculous that you can have a win like you did on Saturday. Would it have made a difference if South Carolina won that game by 20? Like, that's what I wonder. Probably not. And that's the infuriating part.
Because that's the thing. Like, okay, you're supposed to beat Akron. You're supposed to beat those teams by 40 and 50 points. Did that. Against a ranked team, especially one higher than you shouldn't have to beat them by a significant margin to prove your point. Just winning the game is enough.
Exactly. And I think here's the other problem I have that we haven't really discussed at all. And I know people out there feel this way. I think we got to get rid of the auto bids. Like, we either got to go 16 or figure something out here where you put the 12 best teams in, because hypothetically it's actually not the 12 best teams.
It's not,
because you have the conference champions, you have a group of 5 team. I mean, it's a whole mess.
It is 5 conference champions and 7 at-larges.
Exactly. So really the 7 best teams plus the auto bids. It's just,
and I think you're right. And look, we knew tripling the size of the field was going to be different. And there's going to be controversy coming along with it. I think it creates a ripple effect because something's got to change. And if nothing else, you know what really just is insane to me? The fact that it's not reseeded after the first round. So the higher seed, Oregon, if they win the Big Ten championship this weekend, they don't get automatically the lowest seed remaining. So theoretically, let's just say, hypothetically, if Clemson won the ACC, they'd come in as the number 12 seed. The lowest seed, and have to play Ohio State or whoever in the first round. If they win that game, then Oregon would not be matched up with them. Oregon would get matched up with, I think, the 8-9 match. But again, I'm not going to deal with the bracket right now because it's obviously going to change now this weekend. But you could have a case where Oregon is having to play the number 8 seed and the number 2 seed is having to play the 12.
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense because in every other sport, they reseed it. In the NFL, you're watching a playoff game. They have a little graphic. Or the Ravens as the getting the bye, playing one of these two teams depending on who the lower seed is, because having a bye is supposed to benefit you. And being a higher seeded team, you're supposed to get an easier draw and make your path to the championship easier in hindsight. And the playoff is not set up that way right now.
Nope, it's just the CFP has so many issues beyond the rankings. The format's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I wish we'd postpone this thing till next year. We just had the 4-team again, so that way they could actually put together a logical plan.
Well, and that's the thing. This has been in the works for multiple years.
Exactly.
They announced it 2.5 years ago.
It's been a little bit.
Which makes you believe, oh, they got plenty of time. They can figure this out. Also, another point here, and I get why they're doing this. The teams getting buys are locked into certain bowls based on your conference. So Big Ten will go to the Rose Bowl, SEC champ will go to the Sugar Bowl, ACC champ will go to the Peach Bowl, and then the Big 12 champ will go to the Fiesta Bowl. The fourth seed will go to the Fiesta Bowl, not necessarily the Big 12 champ. What happens if the way things work out, let's say Georgia loses Texas this weekend, what if SMU on a bye has to play Georgia in Atlanta? There's no benefit to that. No. But again, way this structured, saying, well, because you're the ACC championship game, you have to go to this bowl game and play in Georgia's backyard. That could happen.
I mean, that's just sometimes the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. But at the same time, this is why you need to reseed after you get to the first round. It's just why is every sport doing it? And it seems like CFB is so far behind.
You ever think? And again, now we're in it. You can't really change it at this point. At some point this year, somebody said, "Oh bleep, we really screwed this up." You're going to run into a situation where a lower seeded team out of the buys is going to get an easier matchup than the number one seed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and I wonder what those conversations were like in the committee room. But we'll never know.
We won't. Again, I know you guys talked about it all day yesterday. It sucks. Nothing you can do about it now. I will say, there's not trying to be silver linings. Like I said, I was listening to Atlanta Sports Talk Radio as I was driving around yesterday while I was out. And one of the shows that I listen to all the time, and I really favor these guys' opinions because they're so good at it, they spent like 5 minutes talking about South Carolina to open their show, like praising Sellers and what they did against Clemson and all that kind of stuff. And obviously talking about the college football playoff debate. They wouldn't have done that a year ago. Nobody was talking about South Carolina a year ago. Now, in bubbles outside of Columbia, where, again, we talk about them because we're the flagship, other places that have no reason to care about South Carolina are talking about them and respecting what they've done this year. And for that, again, not trying to be silver linings guy, that is something.
Yes, it definitely is something. And again, no one thought this team was going to be in the college football playoff hunt. The fact they won 9 games, look, it's okay to be mad about what happened here, but you know what? South Carolina's going to get to go to a good bowl game. They're going to have a chance to win 10 games, and they're going to get to probably beat or go up against a Big Ten opponent, which will be a really cool moment for them, I'm sure.
And yesterday, South Carolina brought in yet another strong recruiting class. We'll dive into that, some of that coming up. Also, let's hear what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday in taking in this class. It is The Extra Point. He's Jack Belcher from Gamecock Central. I'm Tyler Head on your Thursday on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Hate paying for streaming? One more thing you got to stream and pay for? Well, the Game app is, wait for it, free.
It's free! It's free! It's free!
Yes, all you got to do is go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app and listen for nothing in all respects of the word. Nothing.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
No one likes to talk about the injuries, pain, disability, and lost loved ones that result from terrible car and tractor-trailer accidents. I'm Jason Reynolds. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we're honored to be the lawyers our clients rely on during their toughest moments.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When a work injury disrupts your life, I work hard to get you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning has extended their Black Friday sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119. Plus, if you call and mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, you'll get a free hallway cleaning. Schedule today at ZerustColumbia.com. Bill Gunner for my great friends Rock and Daniel Lucas at Charwood Golf Club. Hey, the fall, better weather, exciting days are right ahead of us, and getting out to Charwood Golf Club is something my son Austin and I love doing because it's a relaxed, fun environment where you can go out, play music, enjoy an afternoon outdoors, and enjoy the excellent layout that is Charwood Golf Club. Line up your tee time today. 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Call Charwood Golf Club today.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
Looking for that extra special and personal gift this holiday season? Give a Skylight frame. Skylight is a touchscreen digital picture frame that friends and family can easily send photos to, straight from your phone, and they'll pop up in seconds.
Our family loves their Skylight frames. There's something magical about seeing our most treasured memories in our home each day. It was the perfect gift for my parents after our son was born.
Surprise your loved ones this year with a beautiful Skylight frame. It's the perfect gift for new families, parents and grandparents, or anyone who has all their photos stuck on their phone. You can easily preload photos before you give it as a gift without even opening the box. For a limited time, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/share. That's right. To get $20 off your Skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com/share. That's skylightftframe.com/share.
Honey, would you take a seat? I have a confession to make.
What is it? What's wrong?
Well, I was out driving today and I saw some hookers on the side of the road. A bunch of huge, professional, beautiful-looking hookers. So I did what I was supposed to do. I slowed down and I moved over.
You slowed down for the hookers?
Well, yeah, it's the law. There was a whole fleet of Schroeder's towing trucks assisting with an accident. Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
Schroeder's Towing reminds you to slow down and move over for all first responders.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
Laying the Wood.
Sponsored by Georgia Pacific.
Georgia Pacific is now accepting applications. Entry-level and skilled positions available. Great growth potential.
Georgia Pacific.
Once again, I really need to learn how to turn my microphone back on. Yes, I leave for one day and I forget how to turn my microphone back on.
Man.
One of those things, man.
Yeah.
Muscle memory.
Yep.
We're not doing it for a day.
It's
you fall out
okay.
of favor.
It's
But,
okay.
Yeah. No, okay. Laying the wood. We were talking about this a moment ago. The SEC has been laying the wood on the hardwood to the ACC and the SEC-ACC Challenge. 14-2 record for the Southeastern Conference on the men's side.
Absolutely insane. The only losses were Kentucky on the road at Clemson, and then last night with Auburn at Duke. So all things considered, this is a really good run here for the SEC, and I think it's a big statement that, yes, they didn't beat the top, some of the better teams like Duke, obviously, and then there's Clemson, who's a pretty good team right now. But, hey, everyone else took care of business, and the fact that they were able to win by this margin, and South Carolina especially, too, that's that's 2 wins against the SEC or ACC for South Carolina already this year, which is pretty good.
And again, the women's team will play their version of the ACC SEC Challenge coming up tonight as they take on Duke. Tip-off at 9 o'clock. Pregame coverage starting here on 8:30. On the game. Yesterday was obviously early signing day. Another really good class brought in by Coach Beamer's crew. Here's Coach Beamer, cut number 27.
And they're, not knocking anybody. They're high maintenance, and you know that they're probably about the wrong things. Whereas the best ones that I've been around are the ones that they just love football. They love to compete, and they're not into all the hoopla. I mean, you can say what you want about Marcus Lattimore or Stephon Gilmore or Alshon Jeffrey. Like, those guys didn't care. I mean, social media wasn't what it was back then, but they weren't then, and they wouldn't have been in today's time, the guys that are all about look at me, look at me, look at me. Those are just solid people, high character guys that love football and love to compete. And that's what I look for. And when you look at, our transfer portal class, for example, nobody was doing cartwheels around Columbia when it was announced that we were bringing in Taurus Ellie Simpkins from North Carolina Central, or Demetrius Knight from Charlotte, or Kamar Bell from FAU, or FIU, I think is where he came from, or on and on and on. But we knew that we were getting guys that were really good football players that really truly love the game of football, and they just love to compete. And when you watch them in the weight room, you watch them on the practice field, you watch them on the game field, that's what it is. And to me, those are the kind of guys you win with. And don't get me wrong, you got to have, like you said, the physical attributes. But if you've got the physical attributes and then you have those qualities about you, you love to compete, then it's going to show. And those are the ones that separate themselves from others, in my opinion.
And hopefully this group they brought in yesterday for the early signing days, another group of, good football players, but also good guys, off the field as well. And, plenty of reason in this class to be excited. Obviously, the big story was Xavier Hardy flipping from Mississippi State to South Carolina. Obviously, guys have been tracking for a while. Malik Clark expected to come in to be a contributor at wide receiver. Lex Cyrus, a big get when you battled Penn State with him, a couple of months ago. So, again, a lot of guys in this class to be excited about. And, again, I think we always take these recruiting classes with a grain of salt because you truly never know who's going to see the field and who's not. You get high-level guys that just never materialize, and, low-level guys that come in and become superstars. So you can't really tell, in December when they sign what they're going to be, but a lot of guys to hopefully be excited about.
Yeah, we really won't know what these guys bring to the table, at least until next season. And even at that point, we may not really know what their full potential is until we get to year 2 or 3 of their time at South Carolina. But I will say, I think this is a very good recruiting class South Carolina brought. And the fact that they were able to sign all 21 of their previous commits, that's a huge deal right there. Then you were able to flip 3 guys, Mike Tyler, Xavier Hardy, and then the offensive lineman whose name I cannot pronounce from Georgia Tech. And then obviously you get Christian Ingram to commit to you, which was a big deal as well. And I think South Carolina addressed a lot of needs. Wide receiver is going to be a position that they're going to be very good in moving forward. Obviously, with Mike Tyler at tight end, that replaces the need with losing Josh Simon and guys like that. And then defensive line, I think, is another big area, which Shane talked about a lot yesterday, but they were able to bring in a lot of talented defensive linemen. They got some edge rushers, too. So I think South Carolina's really set up well for the future here.
The wide receiver spot is the one that I'm most intrigued by, and this isn't picking out one guy in particular, but that is the spot, and defensive line as well, where you have, I think, the best opportunity to come in and make an impact. Because, again, we've talked about it. This wide receiver group, nobody's really stood out. Yeah, you've had moments with Mazio Bennett. Nick Harper looks like he's kind of coming along. Like, it's still not as good as it could be. So much like Mazio Bennett did coming in this year, as a true freshman, if you can come in and impress enough, you will see the field. And again, it's not going to be all these guys. There's not enough room for them. But if a Malik Clark, if a Lex Cyrus balls out in the summer or spring, if they're here, for the spring period, they could find serious playing time come next fall, and that's what I'm intrigued to see.
And I think that's a really good thing that, look, South Carolina will probably go out into the portal and get another guy or two at receiver. Keep in mind, I think you probably would get Jared Brown back, and then you'll have Mazio, you'll have Nick. But outside of that, I mean, you really don't have, because you're losing Dale Von Campbell.
Yep.
probably losing Gage Larverdin. Like, you're going to be losing some pieces, and obviously Josh Simon's a big part of that too. So to go out here and get the guys that you did, you have your Jordan Gidron, who is reclassifying. You're getting Lex Cyrus, who I think we need to, like, we can't understate how big of a deal it is that you beat Penn State, one of the blue blood top programs in the state of Pennsylvania also for this battle, to get Lex Cyrus and keep him and hold off the Nittany Lions. It's a really big deal.
It absolutely is. And on the defensive line, again, you bring in some guys there as well. But I think that's one area that you're really going to have to hit in the portal. Obviously, you just lost a lot of depth. And Nick Barrett and Markel Goodwine are expected to come back, but those guys were not your stars in that room. Not saying they can't be, but they were rotational guys, more Nick Barrett than Markel Goodwine, obviously. If you can, you got to go out and find a difference maker in the portal to anchor your defensive line.
You definitely do. And here's the thing that, yes, South Carolina went out in the recruiting space and high school recruiting and JUCO and brought in a lot of good guys. Xavier Hardy could be a guy that comes in and potentially plays right away. However, Chris and Wes brought this up yesterday. I can't remember which one, but they brought it up that you can't expect Hardy to come in, play right away, and be this superstar type player right out of the gate. Like that, it happened with Kyle Kennard, obviously, and Dylan Stewart, but not everyone can be that guy. Not saying he can't be, but I think it would be good if you ease him into it. And maybe this is where you go out and get some guys in the portal, like you were saying, Tyler, to kind of be the bridge to help these new guys fit in.
And I'll say for Xavier Hardy, because, again, he was playing junior college football, prior to committing to South Carolina, obviously. But I think the transition's a little easier there, going from JUCO to college as opposed from going to high school to college. So I think there's a level of expectation there. But, it seems like they probably want to bulk him up a little bit more. He's 260, 6'5". So maybe putting a little more weight on him and, giving him more of a physical presence is something that is going to take some time to do in the offseason.
Yeah, most definitely. And look, if South Carolina, if we're wrong about this and all these guys are playing right away and having the best, start to their careers possible, that is great for South Carolina. That just means they are set up so nicely for the next few years. But reality is, I think they're going to go into the portal, go replace a lot. Because like you said, Goodwine and Nick Barrett being the only guys really coming back on that defensive line on the interior, you have to go get more depth. And that was the key for this team this year, was that they have so much depth all over the field, specifically at the D-line. You go get that in the portal, you'll be fine, I think.
Exciting news set to be announced a little bit later on today. So looks like we're going to have our new athletic director coming into the fold. We'll dive into what we know about that so far. Coming up next, it is The Extra Point. He's Jack Beltry. I'm Tyler Head on your Thursday on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
We all love streaking. I mean, streaming. Until we have to pay for it. But not when you stream The Game.
And how much does it cost?
It's free. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app. And stream for no charge. And listen for no charge.
This is Boomer Science with a Sports Minute, sponsored by Fisher Investments. Time for some positive news, folks. Detroit still leads my power rankings, but injuries are mounting on defense, and the Buffalo Josh Allens and Philadelphia Saquon Barkleys are closing fast. Kansas City does keep winning, almost in spite of itself, and Minnesota continues Sam Darnold's resurrection. Green Bay, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Denver, where Bo knows football, by the way, round out my top 10. I'm Boomer Esiason.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
Lowe's knows that to win the job, pros need the best prices. That's why only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500 at the Pro Desk. That means you get the prices you need to start any job, small or large. Because Lowe's knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-885-9700. 800-885-9700. 800-885-9700.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest for an entire year. You heard that right. Purchase a new system now and make no payments for a full 12 months. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate and tell them Jay Phillips sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
The Extra Point with your hosts, Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central.
Sponsored by Pete Ale Wine, Pool and Spa.
On the Game Network. And don't forget to download the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. It is The Extra Point. Tyler and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Thursday on the Game. Reminder, coming up tomorrow, Left Chevrolet High School Football Scoreboard Show with Justin Hall and Elijah Campbell. 9 o'clock right here on the Game is the, is it semifinals this weekend?
For
high school.
Yeah. So there's still 2 games left to go.
2 games left. Okay.
Yep.
So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Not as many games to talk about, but very important games nonetheless. And again, Elijah and Justin will have that covered for you tomorrow night on the Left Chevrolet High School Football Scoreboard Show. Later on today, Board of Trustees meeting at 3 o'clock. 3:30 presser, where it is anticipated that the new athletic director to take over for Ray Tanner will be announced, and all reports indicated it's going to be Jeremiah Donati, who is the current athletic director at TCU, has been there since 2017 in that role, had been in some smaller roles before that, is expected to take the helm. We don't know when exactly. I imagine we'll get those details coming up today, but the new era of South Carolina sports seems to be led by this guy.
Yeah, and it seems like a good time to make the hire, obviously, because look, we've known that this was going to happen for a little bit, that they would go out and bring in a new AD. We just didn't know who it would be, but it seems like Donati is about the right age. He's in his mid-40s. He's been an AD for a little while now at TCU, and TCU's had a lot of success under him. Like, they've won 8 national championships, 11 conference titles in the Big 12, and in football, they made the 14 playoff 2 years ago. So very good on that front, and we'll see what happens for South Carolina in the future and what this could lead to. But it seems like this is a good hire for them.
And one thing that really sticks out to me, and Chris has got a really good write-up about this on GamecockCentral.com, and obviously more information will come out later today with that press conference, is prior to his time at TCU, he worked for Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment and worked with player representation. And when I think, and this isn't a disrespect to Ray or anything like that, but the former coach becoming athletic director has slowly faded away, where now you are looking for these guys coming from a business background or a player representation background, because that's what college sports are now, and especially with this revenue sharing that's supposed to be starting coming up next year. You want somebody that's been on the ground floor of those kind of things and understand how it works from bottom to top.
No, most definitely. I like that point you just made, because, look, the game has changed in all, well, the other side of it from off the field. And yeah, look, I think South Carolina recognized this. Like, Ray at the time, the times were definitely different back then because there was no NIL. The landscape of college athletics has shifted dramatically. And I think at this point, knowing they needed to get this hire right, you have a guy with a good background, and I think this checks off a lot of the boxes that a lot of people have been wanting to see for some time now.
Well, and Bill brought this point up earlier when I was on the show with him, is you're coming into a pretty good situation, all things considered. You have a women's basketball team clearly as the best in the nation. You have a football team that's on the up and up, and right now is in conversations for the playoff, even though they're going to miss it this year. Men's basketball, obviously made the tournament last year. We'll see what this year holds, but a lot of optimism for what Coach Paris is going to do, over the long haul. You have Coach Maneri taking over his first year in baseball, and he has a national championship pedigree. Women's soccer is good, volleyball, all these sports across South Carolina athletics, for the most part, are in really good places, I would say, and that's a lot easier to take over than when everything's in shambles. You have to build it up yourself.
So you're saying he has the keys to a nice car right now?
It's a very nice. I'm not going to say it's a Ferrari across the board, but it's a very good,
it's quality.
solid, quality vehicle.
Yes, I agree. And look, he's entering a good situation, which is a good thing for South Carolina, because again, there have been situations before where new hires been made and it's been an absolute dumpster fire for a situation for a guy to come into. This is such an attractive place for people to come, not just in recruiting, and obviously it's for coaching. It's for literally everything, and this applies here with the new athletics director, who we would assume is Donati. So, look, I'm very interested to hear what is going to be said today. There's supposed to be a press conference, and we'll see if he's speaking or whatever, but even if he's not or whatever, I'm just interested to hear how this all went down.
And, not only for the sake of the changing landscape of college sports, but the renovation projects, all the land down around Williams-Brice Stadium. He is going to be the one to oversee all those things happening. And I don't think specifically that anything that big when he was out there at TCU. And again, I'm assuming we're going to get some answers today on what his initial thoughts on that are, and, how things are going to go and the plans initially and those kind of things. As, again, he's inheriting a lot of good things, but has the opportunity to improve them and make them even better.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the good thing that South Carolina fans want. Like, they want all these good things. They want winners. They want, this project that you just mentioned, man. Like, it's a big deal, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's carried out and what his vision is, and how much, obviously Ray was the guy to kind of get the whole thing going. But, how much will that change at all with Donati? And we'll have to see. But I'm very interested.
That Board of Trustees meeting today at 3 o'clock, and then the presser, I don't know if it's going to be live streamed or not. I would think something like this probably would be.
Yeah, probably. But worst case, we'll have live updates on Gamecock Central and stuff.
And we'll obviously get some of the cuts of what he says today, and I'll talk about it tomorrow as we get set for championship weekend coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
As the final, I guess, kind of full weekend of college football we have for a while.
Don't say that.
I know. It's coming to an end, man, but it's been a fun year. That'll do it for the Extra Point. He's Jack Felch from Gamecock Central. I'm Tyler Head on your Thursday here on The Game.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Bill Gunner for my great friends Rock and Daniel Lucas at Charwood Golf Club. Hey, the fall, better weather, exciting days are right ahead of us, and getting out to Charwood Golf Club is something my son Austin and I love doing because it's a relaxed, fun environment where you can go out, play music, enjoy an afternoon outdoors and enjoy the excellent layout that is Charwood Golf Club. Line up your tee time today. 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Call Charwood Golf Club today. Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning has extended their Black Friday sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119. Plus, if you call and mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a free hallway cleaning. Schedule today at ZerustColumbia.com.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Kickstart your day at 9 a.m. with your Carolina Pick-Me-Up. Sponsored by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you're injured, call all nines today.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-999.
Looking for that extra special and personal gift this holiday season? Give a Skylight frame. Skylight is a touchscreen digital picture frame that friends and family can easily send photos to, straight from your phone, and they'll pop up in seconds.
Our family loves their Skylight frames. There's something magical about seeing our most treasured memories in our home each day. It was the perfect gift for my parents after our son was born.
Surprise your loved ones this year with a beautiful Skylight frame. It's the perfect gift for new families, parents and grandparents, or anyone who has all their photos stuck on their phone. You can easily preload photos before you give it as a gift without even opening the box. For a limited time, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/share. That's right. To get $20 off your Skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com/share. That's skylightftframe.com/share.
WNKT-FM Eastover Columbia, your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus media station.
The Gamecock Club Hour with Gamecock Central.
Presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Keep cool with Krantz, your cooling and heating specialists. Visit KrantzCooling.com today.
On the Game Network.
10 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Welcome. It is the Gamecock Club Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell hanging out. Wes taking in our new signage here. I said I leave for one day and everything around here changes. We have the curtain that's behind y'all, which you can see on the Game TV. And then we have, is this called tapestry? Is that the right word for it? This
I have no idea.
Thing back behind us that has all the individual small logos on it. regardless, if you're watching us on the Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd Glass and powered by Friends at Integrated Media, you're going to know what station you're listening to.
That is called a step and repeat. I know that.
Okay, that makes more sense. Tapestry's the thing you hang on a wall.
That's like what you put behind you at an event, like at a press conference.
That is the thing that we take to us for events.
Yeah.
So, it's hanging out here.
Wow.
I know, it's changed.
We got to find somewhere else to put our Garnet Trust thing.
We do.
now.
It is behind the stand and repeat, so need a more featured place for that at some point. Speed Garnet Trust, got some cool things to talk about with our guy Mark coming up here in about an hour in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, because there's everything in NIL and stuff is always evolving anyway, but some very cool stuff that he's going to come in here and talk to us about for sure.
Yeah, so we're kind of swapping a little bit the shows today. Normally, we'll be a little bit more NIL focused, or we would have a player guest at 10. Mark, I guess the guy's like working today. I don't know.
Working, right? He never works.
No, he very, very, in all seriousness, super busy time for those guys. Yeah. And I told him that was fine as long as his 10 o'clock meeting was like super important. And he said that it was. So I don't know what he's got going on. Maybe he'll tell us. But they have a membership drive going on right now, and he's going to come in and talk to us about NIL, about where South Carolina's currently situated, where they want to be situated. And we're going to tie all this in. This is not going to be just all business in terms of NIL talk. We're going to ask Mark about the current recruiting class that signed yesterday. We're going to ask him about the transfer portal coming up. And let's be honest, not a coincidence that Garnet Trust also making another push as we get into transfer portal season, because transfer portal and NIL resources, they truly go hand in hand. So we're going to talk to Mark about all that. If you have questions for him, hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line.
Yes, 803-404-6100. Again, that'll be coming up top of the 11 o'clock hour with Mark Benoit from the Garnet Trust. Obviously, yesterday was early signing day extravaganza yesterday, and once again, Carolina ends up reeling in another very, very strong class, still sitting at top at 19th in the On3 industry rankings. As of right now, the big one, obviously, flipping Xavier Hardy from Mississippi State to South Carolina on an area of the team that definitely needs to be addressed in the offseason, not only through high school recruiting, but through the portal as well, because, we talked so much about how excited we were for the depth going into the season, knowing that most of it was going to be leaving when the season's over, and now we're about to face that reality.
Yeah, position of need. That was kind of the, star of the day yesterday. And you look at the interior defensive line, not done yet. Tie this all together, transfer portal, they've got to hit their needs at that spot in the portal. That still remains. But I do think what happened yesterday, I'll put it like this, it relieved the pressure for South Carolina just a little bit. Like, you still have to go get some guys, and you need for one or two of them to be difference makers. But we are starting to see, if this is a puzzle, We've seen some of the pieces now. And so here's how that looks. Let's assume there's no TJ Sanders next year. Could TJ come back? Technically, yes. He did not walk on senior day. But NFL draft board's incredibly high on this kid. And so modern football, if you're a junior, you're a redshirt junior, you have a chance to go play in the pros, and it's not going to be like a late round pick, chances are you're out. So let's assume he's gone. You got to reshape the entire room. Well, you're starting to see sort of the game plan, the blueprint there. For one, it was they were able to bring in a transfer last year who has multiple years of eligibility. So you look at a guy like Michael Goodwine, huge opportunity for him to step in there and certainly play a bigger role, maybe even be a starter next season. Then you look at Nick Barrett. Nick Barrett, a guy who has played in the rotation for South Carolina to different extents throughout his career. They were able to redshirt him. So he is now back. So that gives you a couple of guys that are older, that have experience to work with. Then you start to layer in, let's say, a Xavier Hardy, actually the number one JUCO prospect in the country. So I don't think you ever want to, in a big picture standpoint, just rely on JUCO guys. There's always a jump there. But from a talent standpoint, this kid absolutely can play at the SEC level.
Well, and when you go from JUCO to the college level, that is college, just a different level of college, it's theoretically a little bit easier, shorter transition than going from high school to college, depending on where you're at, obviously. And again, this is a guy that's been, highly touted for the past couple of years, and obviously the previous relationship that South Carolina had with him. So, ideally, you think he could come in and make an impact quicker than maybe somebody just kind of straight out of high school.
Yeah, theoretically, and you are talking about an older, more physically developed person at that point. And so now JUCO evaluations like that can be a little bit tougher sometimes, even than the high school guys. But I think for Carolina to get he looks like a prototypical SEC defensive lineman on tape. He's a guy who can get off blocks, is explosive, is twitchy, is athletic, is kind of that three technique guy. He's kind of your TJ Sanders, honestly. Like, that's the guy you want him to be at his highest level, I think. So that's another guy who comes in and could impact that position. Then you kind of start to round it out. You get Christian Ingram. You hang on to Caleb Williams. Those are two high school guys. I never put the expectation on a high school guy to, hey, this guy has to come in and play right off the bat. It's all to be determined. How do they sort of make the transition? Is it a quick one? Is it a slow one? All those things. We'll see there, but at least you are kind of building out the depth of that room a little bit. You're adding bodies. You're adding potential to that room. We'll see what that potential becomes now. We'll see what that potential comes in the future. But you're not making it to where you have to say, we got to take 6 interior defensive linemen in the portal. You are removing that thought. So now it becomes, can you find 2, 3, and maybe one guy you're saying, oh, this is probably a depth guy. Maybe there's a guy who wants to play in the SEC and is okay with being rotational. But you're also saying, hey, can we find a difference maker in the portal as well? Which is tough.
It is.
But we've seen Carolina be able to do that as well. So you just relieve the pressure there just a little bit at that position by what we saw yesterday.
And I think about it like this as well, where you've had such a good defensive season. And again, you're going to put a lot of guys in the NFL off of this defense. Clayton White, obviously, his job's not in jeopardy like we thought it was a year ago. You're rolling some momentum there. I imagine this is going to be a pretty attractive place for a lot of those guys in the portal saying, hey, I want to go there and be a part of what they were doing this past season. If you're coming from a G5 or something like that and wanting to get to the NFL, this could be your place to do that. So I'm intrigued to see not only how much, who Carolina goes after, but who's really interested in Carolina as well, try and fill some of those holes.
Yeah, I think you look at the offensive side, look at the defensive side. You have a couple of really, really cool things that you can push forward in your pitches to these guys if you're South Carolina. For one, it helps that you kind of have potentially the face of your program on both sides of the ball and saying, all right, here is Lenoris Sellers. If you're an offensive playmaker, you can come play with Sellers. When you look at the other side and you say, here's Dylan Stewart, arguably the best freshman defensive end edge guy. I guess the Texas kids, maybe the other guy in the conversation.
Sure.
But could be the freshman of the year regardless of position on that side of the ball. Then what do you add in? Hey, here's what Clayton White did with his defense last season with some transfers playing major roles. Hey, here's what Sterling Lucas has done with Kyle Kennard, who completely took his, I guess, production from last year and basically doubled it this year. And here's what he's doing with Dylan Stewart. If I'm an edge guy, if I'm a defensive end out there, I'm like, I can play opposite of somebody who teams are going to have to double team every single snap just about. That's very, very, very appealing, I would say. Look at D. Knight. Look at what they did at the linebacking core. You're going to have interest. Now, I'll warn people, portal, it's a crazy season. There's a lot that goes into it. I've got an article going up today on Gamecock Central where I also put the warning out there. Portal is not for the faint of heart. It is recruiting it's high school recruiting put on steroids, thrown into a blender, and then pushed off a cliff. You don't know where it's going to land.
That's a good way to put it.
So we try to be very accurate on Gamecock Central. Things change so freaking fast. So there will be guys where we will, it will happen. There will be a guy who will say, hey, South Carolina's in a great spot for this guy. And it could be an hour later. Literally, it could be an hour later, and it just changes.
Yeah.
There could be the opposite. We don't know if South Carolina's going to get this guy. And then an hour later, something shifts, and boom, they land him. Of course, that's a part of high school recruiting, but it is supercharged when it comes to transfer portal because you are taking what is normally a year or 2 or 3 year process, and you were jamming it into a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. And Beamer, touched on it yesterday in his presser that it's kind of like NFL free agency. You bring these guys in, showing them around, having conversations about, what you need, where they fit, and all those kind of things. And again, for the higher end guys, certainly their phone's blowing up left and right. They're visiting a ton of different schools and having a ton of interest. So it really can go back and forth. And, God bless coaches at college football for dealing with all these things, juggling them all at the same time. Oh, by the way,
they're all pretty well paid.
They are pretty well paid, but still, that doesn't mean that it's an easy thing to do. Beamer said yesterday, I can't believe we're signing before the SEC championship game this weekend, and then you got the portal opening up, bowl practice, all those kind of things. There's a lot going on, in this month.
But how about the difference? How about the difference in what Shane Beamer and just the vibe he put out yesterday compared to Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
And for those who haven't seen it, go search on social media. It's out there. Beamer, and he obviously was rightfully so upset about college football playoff being left out, all those things. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Beamer still just you as a college football coach, I get it. I'm sure at times it's very, very annoying, everything you have to deal with these days, for lack of a better word, but still very grateful, very excited, very fired up about the guys coming in that have really trusted you and your staff with their careers and these days, frankly, their livelihoods, and they've entrusted you with that. He is still genuinely excited about signing day, whereas Brian Kelly, let me remind you, a guy who left an incredibly high-paying job to take another incredibly high-paying, I guess more high-paying job, and he wants to complain about signing day and recruiting because the kids are now getting paid as well. So I get, this thing has gone full into silly season in terms of the background stuff and NIL, the numbers that you hear out there. I get it. But it is completely tone deaf for Brian Kelly, of all people, to use his National Signing Day press conference to just complain about guys wanting to secure their financial future. So the difference in the vibe, the difference in just the sort of thoughts on the day from the two people could not be further from the truth. And I don't know. I'm not saying the Brian Kelly era has jumped the shark. It is too early to say that, but it just feels completely different with where the two programs are headed at this point.
I think Brian Kelly might be a victim of having too much success too quickly in his first year at LSU and not being able to back that up in the years after that. Speaking of Coach Beamer, we'll get into a little bit of what he had to say yesterday at his press conference about everything that's gone on just in the last 5 days alone, dealing with the win, the playoff stuff, and obviously signing a good class yesterday as well. It's coming up next. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating on your Thursday here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
It's back! The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot starts at $100. Every week it increases $100 if Carolina doesn't score a special teams touchdown. But if the Gamecocks do score a special teams touchdown, you could win the pool. Again, just go to 1075thegame.com and register. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest from 1075 The Game.
1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, guys, this show brought to you by our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating. I don't know if y'all have been outside lately, but it's getting chilly out there, and I don't want to wish this. I don't want to speak this on anyone, but if you have heating issues at your home, Call our friends at Krantz. They're going to come out. They're going to take great care of you just like they take great care of us whenever we have issues. 803-590-8775. Also, KrantzCooling.com. That's Krantz with a K, cooling with a K.com. That's where you can go right now and go ahead and get a look at any of their services or go ahead and set up an appointment if you have issues. Speaking of those services, whether that could be AC, heating, preventative maintenance, ductless AC, indoor air quality, or if you're a business owner, commercial HVAC as well, hit up our friends at Krantz Cooling. Again, that's Krantz with a K, cooling with a K.com.
Honey, look, the hookers. They've moved off the highway and now they're all over the parking lot.
What are all those Schroeder's towing trucks doing in that parking lot, though?
Must be towing all those unauthorized cars parked in the lot. Good thing the business owner called Schroeder's Towing to keep their parking lot clear for just their customers. Didn't those cars see the free signage that Schroeder's provides to business owners to deter unauthorized parking?
I guess not.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Oh, by golly, it's a holly jolly season at Love Chevy with year-end savings you don't want to miss. I-26 at Harbison and lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
When's the best time to start planning a festive event? Right now. Enjoy a convenient downtown location with lots of parking. The Hilton Garden Inn Columbia Downtown is ready to book your festive event this year. Call 803-227-3400 today. Host a holiday celebration the office will buzz about, or ring in the new year in style. Let the Hilton Garden Inn Columbia Downtown help you create new memories this year. 803-227-3400.
You are not going to believe this. Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning has extended their Black Friday sale for this week only. Book soon to get 3 rooms and a free hallway for $119, a sofa for $129, or $75 off your air duct cleaning. You have to book before December 7th to capture these great savings, so schedule your appointment now before it's too late. Schedule online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez is the right way to clean.
Exciting news! TEC Equipment's year-end clearance is happening now. Dive into amazing deals on all new and used in-stock equipment. Call them or visit any of their 3 locations, West Columbia, Orangeburg, and Somerville. And guess what? You can snag Takeuchi equipment with 0% financing for 60 months. Plus, don't miss out on their fantastic range of Skag equipment. TEC Equipment's year-end clearance is happening now. Check it all out at TECrental.com. That's TECrental.com. Get ready to save big.
Plumber near me.
Hey, we can help.
Weird. Only big companies.
No, we're only 2 miles away. Can you not see us?
Nope, they can't see you yet. Get Cumulus Boost and get on the map. CumulusBoost.com.
The Gamecock Club Hour with Gamecock Central.
Presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating.
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Thursday on the game. Of course, Coach Beamer spoke yesterday for a long time. It was about a 45-minute press conference recapping everything that happened with signing day and, of course, all that transpired on Tuesday night with the college football playoff rankings as well. Let's get cut number 1 here, Dave. This is Coach Beamer just kind of being asked about the range of emotions in the past 5 days alone.
Yeah, let's see. Joy to the highest degree on Saturday and happiness throughout Saturday. Sunday was joy, happiness, appreciation, gratitude for the season that we had. exhaustion from the season that we had as well. Monday was a lot of excitement in the morning. We got the players in here Monday morning. We gave everybody off on Sunday. Got the players in here on Monday and reviewed the tape from the Clemson game and looked back at that. So that was a fun day, just because, as you can imagine, you win that game and what it means. A lot of excitement and happiness on Monday morning. The rest of Monday throughout Tuesday was just busyness, and because of everything going on, portal, recruiting, individual meetings of players, wrapping up the season, there's a lot happening, planning for what the December looks like. Last night about 7 p.m. was absolute shock and disappointment at 7 p.m. And I won't lie, Hale, it's been pretty that feeling really hasn't changed since yesterday at 7 p.m., except for the excitement of this group that we just brought in, and then the excitement of being able, we practiced this morning, so being able to get out on the practice field with our guys this morning was pretty cool as well. So yeah, it's been a range of emotions and still is, but there's one great positive, and that's this group of signees that we've just put together today.
That's a lot in less than a week, certainly. And obviously the low point is what happened on Tuesday night. And I know you guys spent a lot of yesterday talking about it in addition to early signing day, but there's no two ways about it. It sucks. And Beamer, rightfully so, as any coach is going to do, went on the national platforms and plugged why he thinks Carolina deserved to be in that spot. And, I guess the most frustrating thing is like, well, dang, we're still behind Miami. You know what I mean? If Bama's going to be in front of them, why wouldn't Ole Miss and South Carolina too? And again, if you're out, you're out. If you're in, you're in. It's just, it's unfortunate that that little bit of damper got put on the tail end of what was a very fun season. Obviously, still have a bowl game to go. Find out the destination of that coming up on Sunday. But to be that close and come up short is always going to be frustrating. Yeah, for sure. And, I think for all those schools that got left out, you're gonna make your case for your team, and I think the frustrating thing for South Carolina is just feeling like if they had done what Bama had done, or if Bama had done what they had done, and the brands were just reversed, that feeling that South Carolina would be in, that people would give Alabama the benefit of the doubt and be like, well, hey, guys, they've won 6 straight games. This is a team on the rise. And obviously, we have no way of knowing that for sure, but based on just what we see in college football, I certainly can understand feeling that way, because I kind of agree with that take. Like, I don't think that's a far-fetched thing to say. If Bama had reeled off 6 straight wins to finish the year, people would be saying, oh, they've hit their stride, and they're clearly one of the best 12 teams. And here's the problem with the committee in general, though, and I've said this before, but the problem is any of the teams involved, any of the teams that were in the conversation, I can pick a team and then I can make a case after the fact. Sure. So the problem is, now, the problem from the committee standpoint, understand they have a hard job, because if it was truly obvious, it would be easy. We don't really need a huge debate. So you can, no matter who they picked, there were going to be fan bases that were ticked off. Yeah. So when you sign up for that committee, then you sign up to dealing with that. And also, here's the thing. And I've seen people rightfully so say, well, hey, in some cases you reward head-to-head, in some cases you haven't, which I think is the South Carolina argument. Why are you looking at me like that? No, you're making a good point. I was kind of thinking about how I'm going to formulate my response here. But real quick. Yeah. But in the committee's slight defense, there's never going to be – you always at some point are going to look hypocritical, because there's no way – like let's say data points again. Sorry, Coach Beamer, if you throw up, as you said. But – data points are always going to contradict each other. Sure. So I think like there was at one point I know we looked at like 4 SEC teams, and it was like, well, this one beat this one that beat this one, but then the one at the bottom of that list had beat the one at the top. So you get in like a sort of
death loop of this team beat that team but didn't beat that team. And so there is no perfect way to decide it. I'd rather just go back to the computers than this, though, to be honest with you.
There's been a few people this morning saying that exact same thing. I advocate for transparency. Look, we get Ward Manuel, whoever the committee chair is, for 3 minutes on Tuesday night to basically give us nothing in whatever answers or whatever questions Reese Davis asks him. And again, ESPN.
And the teleconference.
And the teleconference as well. That's a little more expanded out. But, ESPN loves to put a camera into everything and make everything available on ESPN+. If you gave me a camera in the committee room while they're hammering out these things so we could hear the conversations.
Santa Claus is here.
We just had the Nutcracker a minute ago. Now Santa Claus is here, man. It's a party. That's for sure. But just being able to hear what they're talking about. When they talk about South Carolina, are they talking about strength of schedule? Are they talking about record? What the data point? There's that word again. Sorry, Coach Beamer. What are they using to say South Carolina's done well, and what are they using against them? I just want to know, because again, we don't get enough information in those few little moments of hearing from the chair, the appointed person to speak for everybody, to really get a full understanding, especially now in a 12-team playoff. Because again, with 4 teams, sometimes took care of itself. We knew going into the weekend, okay, if this thing happens and this happens, these are the 4 teams in, no controversy, and boom, we're going to go on in semifinals. Now you open it up with tripling the size of the field. There's a lot more flaws. Again, we're talking about 3 lost teams here. That's teams that have lost 3 games apiece. Entering the debate, which is going to make it even more controversial. And again, I just want more transparency at the end of the day on how they came to that decision.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, they know the questions that are going to be asked out there.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying some kind of PR spun, just completely baked, like you sort of have time to formulate exactly what you're going to say. I'm not saying this is perfect, but even if you just literally put something out after and just told us, like, when the committee discussed Miami and South Carolina, these were the deciding factors that made us put Miami above South Carolina. When we looked at Alabama compared to Miami, these are the deciding factors that the committee talked about. These are the ones that pointed in favor of Alabama. These are the ones that pointed in favor of Miami. And these are the ones that were the deciding ones that gave Alabama the edge. Because it's obvious and apparent what ones people are going to ask about. So I feel like you could save yourself a little bit of heartache if – I think this should almost be a requirement.
You would think.
Show your work.
Yeah.
Like, show your work. It doesn't have to be him stumbling over Reese, grilling him for a minute on ESPN and feeling attacked and then just really not giving us anything. You can sit down and formulate the real reasons.
Yeah.
Or just tell us, we watched the game and we think this was the better team. There's an eye test involved too. If you just said, I think that's the better team, I'd be like, well, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I think this was Chris's point earlier. At least you're just telling me why.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that brand brings more money to the playoff.
Be honest with us.
I would respect that a lot.
Heck yeah. Well, speaking of the committee, a coach that's going to be coaching this weekend in the ACC Championship game, Rhett Lashley, had an interesting comment on a precedent that they might end up setting this weekend when it comes to his team. We'll hit that coming up next. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating, Tyler and Wes, on your Thursday here in the game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
What's up? It's Elijah Campbell from 107.5 The Game, here to tell you about the gift this holiday season that keeps on giving, and that is my friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, and it's really simple. All you got to do, pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. They've got many options like Flex Play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't 100% perfect. They also have injury insurance, so your lineup stay in play even if one of your players gets injured in the first half of a game. And now that we're talking about the giving season, I'll give you some tips on how I've been successful on Prize Picks this year, and it comes in the form of Saquon Barkley. I'm always going more on Saquon Barkley rushing yards, no matter what the projection is. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME, 1075GAME. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
They say perfection is a journey, and at Carolina Stone Craftsman, that journey leads us to just outside Columbia in Chapin. Our marble, our granite, our quartz, they're sculpted with the highest craftsmanship, honed with family values, and delivered with professional results. Explore the craftsmanship of each slab, see all our new showroom has to offer, and experience our custom hardscapes. Crafted to perfection, experience Carolina Stone Craftsman's workmanship. Take us for granted. Your journey to perfection starts with us, Carolina Stone Craftsman. Just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Carolina Stone Craftsman.com.
Need a roof? Trust Crescent Construction. With over 20,000 roofs installed and counting, they've got the experience you need. They specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, and general contracting. Visit CrescentCarolina.com today for free estimates and free inspections. That's right, no cost, no commitment. Crescent Construction, quality you can count on. For all your roofing and construction needs, visit CrescentCarolina.com now.
You can count on hot summers in the Midlands.
You can count on those South Carolina roads biting.
And when you end up with a broken windshield, you can certainly count on Absolute Glass.
With one phone call, we can repair, replace, and recalibrate your car's windshield.
We'll handle the insurance calls, and for most folks, it won't cost you a dime to let us fix your windshield.
Absolute Glass has been voted Lexington's best for 15 years straight.
So call Absolute Glass at 951-7200.
Or find us online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And remember,
if you can see through it, we can do it.
Looking for that extra special and personal gift this holiday season? Give a Skylight frame. Skylight is a touchscreen digital picture frame that friends and family can easily send photos to, straight from your phone, and they'll pop up in seconds.
Our family loves their Skylight frames. There's something magical about seeing our most treasured memories in our home each day. It was the perfect gift for my parents after our son was born.
Surprise your loved ones this year with a beautiful Skylight frame. It's the perfect gift for new families, parents and grandparents, or anyone who has all their photos stuck on their phone. You can easily preload photos before you give it as a gift without even opening the box. For a limited time, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/share. That's right. To get $20 off your Skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com/share. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/share.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson bring their unique take on sports entertainment with no contest wrestling, with guests like WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry.
What is that night like for you as world champion?
I remember getting in my hotel. I'm looking at the chair with the title on it, and I remember crying. I couldn't believe that it was in my room and that I was sitting here looking at this title like it was a person.
The No Contest Wrestling Podcast, part of the Rich Eisen Podcast Network, wherever you listen.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Grant Schooling and Heating. Tyler and Wes along with you here on your Thursday on the game. Of course, a lot of headlines coming away from what happened on Tuesday night with the penultimate college football playoff rankings setting the table for this weekend, where, of course, Warden Manuel said for teams like Carolina, Ole Miss, Miami, Alabama that aren't playing this weekend, nothing can change for them because, well, they don't have another data point, but for one, that's the most honest the committee chair has ever been, because they actually told us something about what they were going to do and what they were thinking. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but that is actually an honest statement from them about their thought process. And again, Beamer was rightfully critical of that yesterday, saying, hey, well, if Clemson wins the ACC, then we now have a win on the road against a conference champion. That should be worth something on a resume, but according to the committee, it's not. And I heard this last night. Brett Lashley, the head coach for SMU, was on SiriusXM, and he talked about, cut number 28 here, Dave, the dangerous precedent the committee is setting should they end up leaving SMU out if they lost this weekend.
If our team all got COVID today and didn't play, we're in. Wow. We're in, right? We don't have another data point to drop us below anybody that's behind us.
Based on what happened in 2020, that's how it would go. Yeah.
I think if you open up that door, you're going to see a lot of people do a lot of crazy things. Yes, we're not going to. We're going to go play in Charlotte, and we're going to try to compete for our championship because that's the right thing to do. That's what competitors do. We value an opportunity to share the field with someone like Clemson, a fantastic team, and try to do something special. And so I just, like I said, I'm going to choose to believe that on Sunday that the right thing will be done as well on the other end.
Correction, he was on Three's podcast with Andy and Ari. But regardless, that's a bold statement for a coach to make on the week of a championship game because, again, we're used to coach speaking all those kind of things. But he's right. If SMU suddenly contracted team-wide COVID and couldn't play this weekend, committee would still put him in. Now, again, I think the committee is going to leave him in no matter what happens this weekend. But if they lose to Clemson, they're going to be sweating come Sunday morning because they just don't know for sure if they're going to get left out or not, being that they're the 8th seed.
And being that they got to deal with Alabama.
Yeah.
That's not the team, as we've seen, you want to be in a head-to-head in a committee conversation with. Now, I do think this is one of those things where somebody is sounding the alarm on something that will never happen. What college football coach, is he technically correct? Yes, he is technically correct. Y'all, you're telling me that a college football coach is going to stand in front of his team and say, guys, we're not playing in this championship because we've got a better chance to make the playoff if we don't play.
I'm not agreeing that that's going to happen.
But when I saw a lot of people when he said that, they were like, "Oh, he's right."
Yeah.
But
in theory, he is correct that if that happened, yes, they would still be in. That's not going to happen, like you say.
Okay. Well, all right. We're putting in the committee. The committee's going to reward a team. You may not have another on-field data point, but you have a data point. The data point is that team does not want to play.
Yeah.
You are here to play the games.
And again, it's an extreme example, but he's trying to make the point that, which again, I don't think that they are going to, but we don't know because this is the committee that, has been kind of all over the place this year. I don't think you should be penalized because you earned the right to play that 13th game. You are one of the, especially now without divisions, because this doesn't say, okay, well, you just played in the, coastal side of the ACC and it was weak this year and you got the conference championship game that way. And you're like, no, you were legitimately one of the best 2 out of 16 teams and got a chance to play for the conference championship game against a Clemson team this upcoming weekend. And again, I don't think you should be dinged for that, no matter what the final score is. And again, this is the only one of these games we kind of have this conversation about because Oregon and Penn State, both those are going to be in because they're ranked so high. Georgia and Texas, both are going to be in because they're ranked so high. The Big 12 championship games to play in, as is the Mountain West championship game. So this is the only one it applies to this year. But again, if they, were to leave SMU out this weekend if they lost, then we're using that as the standard going forward for teams that are kind of close to the line, losing championship games in years ahead.
What if you get smashed? Still?
Again, I think earning that extra game holds a lot of weight, in my opinion. And again, if they're going to say that Alabama, Carolina, Ole Miss, Miami don't have anything else to add to the discussion because they're not playing this weekend.
Which is patently false.
It's false. Again, I don't know. I think they backed themselves into a corner with that one. Then why should you penalize the team that earned the right to add an extra data point?
Which is kind of hilarious that they picked that to back themselves in a corner on when all year long when Reese would push him on things, he'd be like, we're not dealing with hypotheticals.
Yeah. You are actually dealing with hypotheticals now by saying that.
That actually kind of surprised me.
It did too, because I was like, again, I respect the honesty because they finally told us something, but I'm like, I can't believe he actually said that. Now they may have gone back in the committee room and said, "What the heck, man? Why'd you tell him our plan?" Because he could have strung us along, right? Like, oh, we still got 5-6 more games this weekend, then we'll reevaluate everything after that. And then we're still sitting here saying, well, maybe if Clemson wins, then that increases South Carolina's resume. But he just took the hammer and whacked us all on the top of the head and said, nope, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, and maybe in some ways he did that on purpose because he wants teams to go. He wants the championship weekend to mean something, and for the crazy thoughts of, oh, well, we just won't play, to not even be a thought in anyone's mind. Like, you want for the championship weekend to matter. You want for it to have weight, even beyond, which I do think, so the irony, I guess, of the entire thing is that the way the tournament, the way the bracket was built, was supposed to put emphasis on the conference championships. It was built to where, because you can make a case that what we're doing now took some weight away from the conference championships by having more teams in the college football playoff.
Yep.
But it was built to make the championships matter because of the automatic qualifier.
Yeah. See, I think, and again, I understand why they did it, because, again, you're playing for a bye, essentially. But I feel like if we were in the, using the same logic of the 4-team era where it's just the top 4, there's no AQs or anything like that, I feel like if we're just doing the best 12, then having that 13th data point can put you in position to jump into one of the bye spots. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed it, but let's say Georgia at number 5 right now. Hey, if we go win the SEC championship game this weekend against Texas, we're going to jump in the top 4 and we're going to have one of those buys. Notre Dame not having a conference championship game, sitting at number 4 right now. Hey, we're probably going to move down and only have a home game because we didn't have a conference championship to add to our resume. So again, I don't love AQs. I get why they're doing them, but I would love to just see them take the best 12 teams, run through 1 through 12, and go from there, because that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, but I do think there was probably, when this thing was negotiated, if you are to make everyone agree to it, there probably had to be certain parameters. Like your group of 5 is saying, we always get left out. Here's our opportunity to lock in an opportunity, and they're saying, every year going to be a year where a group of 5 could truly compete with the best the Power 5 has to offer? No. Are there some special teams out there, some special group of 5 teams in a given year that you just look at where it all comes together and they could compete with the best? Yes. So they took this as the opportunity. Hey, if we're going to expand this thing, we're going to have a seat at the table, even if it's one seat.
Yep.
And the conferences are going, if you are the poor Pac-12 at the time when this was being negotiated, or you're the Big 12, or you're the ACC, you're saying, we're not going to let this be a 12-team playoff with 6 SEC teams and 6 Big 10 teams and just get completely locked out. We're looking for our place at the table as well. So I think it's a combination of them wanting there to be importance on the conference championships, and those other conferences were never going to agree with this without the AQ, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens this upcoming weekend and what the final results end up being come Sunday. We'll also find out where exactly Carolina is going to be headed for their bowl. We'll take a look at that, as well as talk about opt-outs and what Coach Beamer had to say about them yesterday. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler and Wes here on your Thursday. Okay.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Everyone wants you to pay for their streaming app. You gotta have this one. You gotta have that one. Well, not us. Here at The Game. Why? Because we love you more than they do. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app for free.
This is Boomer Esiason with Sports Minute, sponsored by TGL, presented by SoFi, beginning on January 7th on ESPN. Keep up, it's golf. Divisional rivals Green Bay and Detroit clash tonight. Both serious playoff contenders force a ton of turnovers, folks. The Pack is looking to extract revenge from an earlier loss at Lambeau against a now Lions defense laden with backups. I do like Green Bay in an entertaining, high-scoring, mild upset, 31-30. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi. Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime forcing, layoffs on the line golf. Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up, it's golf.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi. Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime forcing, layoffs on the line golf. Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up, it's golf.
Car wreck, dial all sevens now. We got a $250,000 settlement for a client injured in a car accident when driver illegally turned in front of him.
Dial all sevens now.
The Nestapool Law Firm is not scared to go to court. We got a $2.5 million jury verdict for our client when the other driver failed to yield.
What do? Good heavens, dial all sevens.
To get your attorney, dial 800 all sevens now.
Is your crawl space damp or musty? Water in your crawl space can cause wood to rot and creates an environment for mold and mildew that can make its way inside your home. Canty Foundation Specialist specializes in crawl space repair. Call us today for your free inspection so you can have the peace of mind knowing your crawl space is dry and your home is protected. Call today, 803-424-8380, or visit cantycanfixit.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-511-4545. 800-511-4545. 800-511-4545.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it! Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
The Gamecock Club Hour
with Gamecock Central.
Presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating on the Game Network.
I would hope that would be the case. No one has told me they're going to. Have I had some conversations with some guys on our team, just kind of where they are and what their thought process is? Sure. And we've got some guys that are going to be some high draft picks, but I will say this. The players on this team are extremely motivated to try and go get a 10th win. And that's really important to a lot of guys. And I've had players on the team that have come and talked to me about, hey, what do you think and what's your opinion in regards to my status for the bowl game? But nobody's told me they're going to opt out. I hope they don't. But everybody has, some guys have a decision to make as well. But like I told them, there's nothing that you have to decide right now. Let's see what happens Sunday. Let's see where we're going, who we're playing, and we got plenty of time to make those decisions.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling Heating. Tyler and Wes along with you on your Thursday here in the game. Reminder tonight, women's basketball ACC SEC Challenge as the women take on Duke. Tip off at 9. Pregame coverage starting here at 8:30 on the game. That, of course, was Coach Beamer yesterday being asked a question about opt-outs for the bowl game. And, of course, we don't know any specifics on that as of right now. Do have to learn about the bowl destination coming up on Sunday. But I believe it's easy to imagine there's a handful of guys that we kind of know are most likely not going to be playing in the bowl game when it does roll around, wherever they end up going. Preparing for the draft, Kennard, probably even worry guys like that. And again, bowl games have changed so much in these past handful of years, really in the playoff era, to where it's essentially kind of your pre-spring game, where you're getting a good look at what you have on the roster, gives you a good idea what you're going to need in the portal. And again, at the end of the day, I mean, go back to the Gator Bowl against Notre Dame 2 years ago, was inconsequential, all things considered. You obviously want to win the game, but Carolina had a pretty gutted roster that day and did give you an idea of what you needed to do that offseason as far as the portal and stuff went, and start building for the next season.
If you're South Carolina, you got a shot at 10 wins.
That is something.
That's not nothing. I think bowl games are fun. I think bowl games, for one, you find out, hey, who just really wants to compete? Who doesn't care about the logic? Logically, if you're a third-round pick or higher or something, logically, I get it.
Yeah.
Are you maybe better off just starting to train? Yeah, there's a great case for that, frankly. Who just is a baller? Who says, you know what, I don't care about the logic. This is my one last chance to play with my team. Sign me up, man. And there's a risk to that, right?
There is, of course.
There is, but if I'm an NFL GM, there's part of me that's going, hey, give me that dude.
Yep.
Because I'm never going to have to worry about him in terms of his competitive nature, competitive edge. And again, that's nothing. If you're a first-round pick, dude, it's hard to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and risk it one more time. I get it. But on the other side, those guys that are willing to do it, I'm giving them a little extra grace in my evaluation if I'm an NFL team. So, we'll see what happens. But I think from a big picture standpoint, guys, if you are a hardcore fan and you want to see who's next, if you want to see, I don't know, like if you want to see a Jawarn Howell get a shot to run the ball, or a Matt Fuller, if you want to see, some freshmen get out there and play that haven't really played, this is an opportunity for that, and it's an opportunity for those guys specifically to show the coaches what they can do in a game setting.
We'll learn on Sunday where exactly Carolina's going to be going. Looking at the latest bowl projections, CBS has them in the ReliaQuest Bowl against Iowa. Then most of the other national publications, Action Network, The Athletic, all seem to point them towards the Citrus Bowl taking on Illinois. Now, the Citrus Bowl does get the first pick of non-playoff SEC teams. So that's kind of the coveted non-playoff bowl if you're an SEC team. And again, it seems like it'd be a debate between them and Ole Miss at that point in time if Alabama does get in the playoff. But again, looks like you're playing probably somewhere on December 31st, likely in the state of Florida against a Big Ten team.
Yeah, it's not the college football playoff, but it's still a good game. It's still football. One last time to run the ball. One last time to get out there.
Yep.
One last time to take a trip and cheer on your team. I mean, I do think it probably takes a little bit of time if you're the team, if you're a fan, to let the dream end. Because you went in, you kind of, as you were watching this thing play out, your belief in the possibility of the CFP just steadily grew, right? If you're a Gamecock fan, if you're on that team too. And so to do your part, is it more difficult to swallow the result knowing you did your part and kept winning compared, if you just lost at the end, you'd be like, well, had our chance, didn't win, is what it is. It hurt, but you'd be like, whoever beat you, well, they got us.
Yeah.
If you're on that team and you really started to believe you had a shot and then it didn't happen, and you're looking back at the time of the LSU game when Carolina was still thought about as like a team that was projected to win 5 games, people were going, man, that might cost us a bowl game. Nobody at the time thought, man, that might have cost us college football playoff.
Yep, absolutely. And again, it'll be hopefully a fun final game of the season. Again, chasing that 10th win, which is pretty significant. And again, if you get a destination like Florida, then something hopefully a lot of fans can travel to wrap up what's been a very, very fun year. Speaking of fun, Garnet Trust has some big news that our guy Mark Benoit is going to come in here and tell us about as the Gamecock Club, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs comes up next.
I'm going to get you a schedule, man.
I'm trying, man.